Phia told us we asked her, Phia, what games are you playing? We'd like to talk with you about it on the podcast. And this is the one she mentioned that we thought was most interesting. So we're going to start with it. SoundSelf. Now, I'm going to let you talk about it in just a second, but first, I watched a trailer for this thing and it looks ridiculously trippy.
Mhm.
And
It's
I have
quite yeah,
no
it's
idea
quite
what's
intense.
going on. So tell us, what is going on with this game? I can't even begin to introduce it.
Yeah, so basically, the episode of my show that I released back on Monday of this week was about psychedelics and VR. And so during the during the research phase of producing this episode, I went and tried out a whole bunch of like kind of trippy, like psychedelic type of games. And SoundSelf was one of the games that I tried out, and I was like, okay, this looks cool. Kind of expensive at $30, but I'll give it a go for the sake of giving it a go. And so it's really, really crazy, right? Is you put on your headset and you like lie down and you basically start off by humming and it'll give you a note and it's kind of almost like a mantra kind of thing and you go like
Okay.
and then you make this like this hum, right? And then the game itself actually starts to react to your voice and it starts to react to the sounds that
What?
you make. Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. And so it uses your microphone, so you have to, like, not have any, like, interference or anything of that, but it
Right.
uses your microphone, and then it takes in the sound, and I have no idea how, like, the math works on that as far as, like, the programming goes, but it, like, takes that and then starts producing all of these interesting visuals, and so you have all of these crazy colors, and you'll have, like shapes like circles and like stripes and like paint smears and all of this stuff kind of like shaping around your voice and then the different like pitches that you make and the different types of sounds that you make. And then at certain points as well, if you kind of start being quiet, it actually starts to relay your voice back to you. So if you were singing something like a
What?
minute ago, you'll start to hear the echo of that echo back to you within the game, and you're like hearing all of these like tones like layered on top of each other. So it's definitely like it definitely puts you into the kind of like a trance state because you have all of this sound, and sound is very, very powerful. Like the different like tones and how your brain is like responding to that. And so that mixed within these different kind of like layers of like psychedelic and trippy visuals is so interesting. And what really stood out to me too is that when you're in a game like this, right, and we're in VR chat and you're looking around, like everything is very stationary,
Right.
but some of the visuals, while they would like, be in the world around you, were also like tracked to your headset. So if I would like look around, like it would move with my eyes and move around like that and then kind of like trickle back into the background. And so it was kind of this weird like connection between like you and the virtual world. And I absolutely was like thrilled by that. I think it's so cool because I had never thought about like an interactive VR game to where it actually uses something about you as the user
Hmm.
to produce an experience. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I wouldn't say necessarily it was like worth like $30 because it's something that you'd play a couple times and be like, "Heh, that's cool," and then never touch again. But it was definitely worth the experience. Absolutely. So I hope to see more kind of stuff like that. I don't know if you guys have tried it out for yourselves.
How much time did you spend on it?
I did 2 15-minute sessions, so I did half an hour total. They have 2 different game modes. One was called Sophia, which is, I had to try that one because 'cause I'm Sophia, so,
Of course.
I can't remember what the other one was called, but, I tried out both modes and, yeah, it was really, really crazy.
This sounds so cool. This is definitely now that you've explained it as much as you have, I worry, not that I smoke weed or anything, but if I happen to, I don't condone drugs on this podcast, but if I were to happen to, this sounds like the kind of thing that someone would be just like stoned and be like, I remember that game, and then tries and be like, whoa.
It's
This sounds
definitely yeah, definitely aimed for that kind of experience.
right. But I mean, it sounds cool anyway. As someone who's into audiovisual stuff,
Mhm.
I'll admit when I first heard this, I kind of was worried that it was like geared kind of solely towards like people who are like, I don't know, using psychedelic drugs. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, it sounds interesting. But now that you've explained it like in the way it's doing what is basically an audio visualizer, is what that's called.
Yeah, totally.
And um I happen to really like audiovisual. I like for a while, YouTube was just recommending me audio visualization stuff because I was like kind of on a streak of watching a bunch of videos like that. So this actually sounds really cool to me.
Mhm.
And I mean, not everyone's going to be like a total audiophile like I am, but for people that are, that VR and audio and like a really like but well done, this sounds really cool. How are
Yeah, it's
I
cool.
mean,
Yeah.
how's this might be like tricky to answer, but how are the
Mhm.
graphics?
Yeah, that's hard to it's kinda hard to explain because it's literally all, like, blobs of colors, so it's not
Right.
exactly like it needs to be, like, pixel perfect definition there. But I mean, it's very vivid, especially on my index. The colors were very vivid, and it was nice too because it was constantly changing, so sometimes it would be, like, black and white, and then other times I'd have bright, like, oversaturated, like, blues and pinks, and it just really depended on, what sounds I was making and how they were reacting to it. I
Mhm.
didn't feel like I had any control over it. Was probably my biggest complaint. Is
Right.
at certain points it felt like it was just kind of doing its own thing without really like caring what I was, what sounds I was making. But it was
Right.
reacting to it nevertheless, which was still cool.
You see, and that's the biggest turnoff for me personally is that I do VR a lot for the gaming and for the experience, for the interaction you have with the world.
Hmm.
And unlike Rip, who loves audio, I hate audio, and the closest thing I've ever come to a substance is like an Advil. So this, and so this is like absolutely not a thing for me. I keep hearing all this like, oh, it would maybe be cool to try out with someone else's VR headset, but $30 to
Hmm.
shot on this thing, maybe it's not for me.
Yeah,
You
I would
know?
definitely say you have to be someone who's already interested in it for sure. Whether that is because you are a, trip enthusiast or an audio enthusiast, or you just have money to burn and you love unique VR experiences, then this is definitely a unique VR experience. But for your average person, I wouldn't say this is a must have. So I
Yeah,
don't think
but
you're
$30
missing
is a
out too
lot.
much.
yeah. And I
Is
definitely got to say things like this are good for the experience that I'm glad that people are taking the time to come up and
Hmm.
try these new things, try these new experiences in VR.
It's
Uh
innovation,
yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. And any progress is probably good progress even if it's a dead end.
you said you did 2 15 minutes. Was that it, or was there more you just haven't done? Or is it just
Mm,
basically an unlimited amount of time you do it? Like,
Yeah, it's just an unlimited kind of a thing. Like you can like customize the different things like if you want to do like a 15-minute session or a 31 or I think there was an hour and then unlimited. So you
mm,
could pick like how long you want your session to be and then like I said there was like two different modes. Which I still don't really understand what the two modes were, but I tried them both out anyways. But other than that, it definitely is just kind of like obviously it's going to be unique each time you do it because of the different sounds you make and the different way it's reacting. But it isn't exactly something it's replayable in the sense that it's always unique, but it's not replayable in
but
the
it's not
sense that you're getting
truly.
a it's
Mhm.
the same thing each time. It's just different each time. I don't know if that's coming across the way I'm trying
No,
to
I
get it
get
through, but
I get what you're saying, and I'm actually more intrigued the more you've talked about it because, like, something that this is pointing out is kind of a flaw. I don't know of the PC VR world. Maybe you can all tell me really quick, but these are all elements that we already had potentially in games. Like every headset has a mic on it, or at least most of them do.
Mhm.
Like, why do more games not use our sound? So coming from the PSVR, there was a lot of games that did stuff like this. There was Astrobot, there was Blood and Truth, there was Harmonix, where like in Astrobot, there's a part where you have to blow the leaves off of a dandelion to move on, and you have to
Mm.
physically blow. You lean forward and blow, and it hears you doing it. And like since coming to PC, the only game that I've played was the Saints and Sinners that actually like used your mic back at you, but it didn't do a very good job of it. I found it more distracting than anything. And so I keep like waiting. I'm like, okay, where are these games that use more elements than just my hands and buttons? And so to hear that this actually does that, that gets me really excited because I've really
Mhm.
missed that. And I just feel like we're kind of losing out on this whole element that we could have in games by sometimes using our mic to do things like in Blood and Truth when you could smoke a vape and it would actually be listening for you to suck and then listening for you to blow and it would actually blow the smoke out. Like I don't vape, I don't care about that, but it was really cool for it to actually work because it was listening to me. Like
Mm.
I want that back. I want more of that.
More vape. More virtual
S-
vaping.
I don't condone vaping. I don't condone smoking, but anything that I can actually use my auditory power with in a game, please give it to me. Let me do it. I want to try it.
As opposed to, like speaking to us right now, right?
Yeah, that's not the same. This is just chat. I'm talking. I want to be able to blow in this campfire and see sparks go everywhere, like stuff like that.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would
Accidentally
be
burned
cool.
down
I
the
could see
tent
that.
because you blew on it too hard.
Yes, burn down the tent, burn whatever that shape is over there, standing there squatting and creepy. Rip, you finally went back and you played something we were talking about last week, didn't you?
Yes. Okay, but really quickly before I do that, on the note of like breathing, what the entire time I was like, there's one section, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a section in Half-Life Alyx where you have to be sneaky, and I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. That entire time, I was like, if I were the devs right now, I would make it where if I made a sound, it would
Oh
totally
my god.
get their attention. So I was like dead
Oh.
quiet the entire time, just in case.
Did it not
'Cause I
work
didn't
like
know.
that?
I
Was
don't
it?
I don't
Oh,
know.
you don't know.
I actually don't know. I was too scared to try it.
Saints
Yeah.
and Sinners has built something in since, but they give you an option to like turn it off, I guess, because of streamers who were
Mhm.
trying to play the game. But I guess they had a thing built into where you had to be quiet or the zombies would hear you. Like that's at least someone's doing something. But now I want to know. I'm gonna find that spot in Alex and I'm gonna start screaming and see what happens.
Just to see.